where this money was, what was it around, what did it look like. And in some ways, the journey we took has been better than perhaps you now just walking into a nice little set-up deal, because the journey was about how do you change your attitude, how do you change your language, how do you change your board, and how do you change what you're doing in the business. And actually, I can't underestimate the pain that comes with that. And so if you're brave and you're ready for that, then that's a good idea. If you're not, then you probably need to have your cup of tea and leave, because this will take a lot of time and energy. And so our first experience was to go to what they call a sort of Dragon's Den thing. And the other thing you need, if you're a CEO in the room, you need a really smart financial director. Okay, so if you're not in love with your financial director, forget it, get divorced. The two of you are going to know so much about each other because you're going to be spending a lot of time together. The first time we did it, we prepped for ages. We then sat outside in Trafalgar Square trying to figure out how we get into Coots. And then we presented as a sort of Dragon's Den experience. And what we figured out was that the investors didn't get social. So that was the first thing. So how do we pitch so that actually the investors got social? They didn't. They just wanted to know what the return would be, how fast we could pay it back. And at that point, I hadn't really got my head around investment language. And it was my first lesson. So to any of you in the room who are not in that comfortable space, start learning to speak like an investor. Use their language, be comfortable with every kind of quasi-equity that ever walked the earth. Understand social bond. When they talk about junior debt and senior debt, know what they're talking about. And if you're a woman in the room, get used to the fact that you might be the only one in the room very often. And that if you don't talk like the men, they're not going to take you seriously. So forget all that thing about, we're going to have to change the world to meet our needs. If you want the money, because you want to change the world for your business and your organisation, just get into the headspace. So I found myself reading Warren Buffett. I found myself reading Jim Collins. I listened to CNN on finance. I looked at Bloomberg. I became kind of obsessive. But it did pay good stead, because when people talked about senior and junior debt, when people talked about certain impact bonds, when they talked about the floating on the stock exchange, then you kind of understood what they were talking about. And you didn't look stupid. Because the other thing is that often social enterprises are perceived as a sort of alternative business, therefore we don't know what business is all about. And the point Jim makes is very good, actually. The point he makes is that actually trustees often are very smart in the day and lose all sense and reason in the evening. So they come to a board and they operate in a completely different way. And forget the reason they're on the board, it's because they're very smart in the day. So it's a bit like CSR, They offer you, so you get Barclays Wealth coming in to paint your nurseries. I don't want them painting my nurseries, they're crap painters. I want to know what they can do well in the day. Well, if they do money well in the day, that's what I want in the evening, and that's what I want for CSR. So I think there's a whole mind switch that you kind of got to get into that actually is really quite critical in terms of how you perceive, how you go along, and how you approach it. I'm not sure how long I can blag this before they actually pull this thing up here. They did say come earlier, yes, anyway, so the second thing is, I guess, is you have to consider, Peter Drucker, who I very much value, I love his books, he said, anyone who starts to think about building a business has got to be, is a brave person. That's not quite his quote, but it's that kind of idea. And basically, if you're going to build a successful business, you have to be brave. So if you're not comfortable with the fact that your charity, your current charity arrangement, is not fit for purpose, or there is some dissent in the way you want to approach things, think very carefully, because once you get into the business world, it's a completely different experience. And you have many different kind of conversations, and you reconfigure your board in a completely different way, and your subcommittees or your committees become much different. So, oh hallelujah. And so therefore, if we just go to the first slide, thank you so much. And of course it's now gone on to this ridiculous different font that it shouldn't be on either, but never mind. Never agree to do a presentation in the morning, that's what I'd say, ever. So if we just go on to the next slide. So this is our business really, and so the thing we know about children is that if you can give really good nursery care to children, that you can actually make very, very significant difference to their long-term life. So if I believed that, then I felt it wasn't okay for me just to have a small, comfortable charity in Westminster, which is what I inherited, with a dependency on Westminster Council and no future planning, but a board who liked it and were very comfortable with it. Is that our duty if we run a charity? I didn't think so. I thought, no, well, why should it just be those children in that area? We should actually be bigger, more aggressive, more effective, and touch more children's lives. And that was the principle from which we kicked off, really. So if you're comfortable with that, then fine, you know, if that's going to work for you. The second thing you've got to think about is, what can you sell? What can you sell? What is your business? What is it that you can sell? Because you need to bring some money in. And so you have to think about what is the core of your business that's going to bring some money in for you. So lots of you I know will set up trading arms and various things, and if you think that's going to be enough to generate enough money in, that's fine. But you have to sort of ask the question, what is it? Now I was selling children, obviously, and so so we're looking at selling places and how do you ensure that the way we set up our business allows us to pay for children who can't afford to come to nurseries. Because I know for those of you who don't work in our world, and I won't go into this for too long, there is a policy that appears on the press that looks like you get free childcare if you're, if you're 15 hours a day. Nothing in this country is free, believe you me. And so we subsidise that by 48% of our children, which today is 3,500 children every day, and now we employ 500 staff. So I needed some money to do some growth, because I think many of us will do organic growth. We're very good at it, steady. A bit here, a bit there, an opportunity comes along, you have a cup of tea with somebody, you end up doing a little bit of business, you follow a project, or you're kind of comfortable because the government is in your bed at the moment and they're giving you money. And so it all feels fine because there's a fund that's coming. A dangerous relationship is what I'd say. And the notion that George Osborne keeps telling us that we're all fine and everything is run and Britain is back to work again, I just can't see it myself. So I think we must be very careful that whatever business model you build it so it's flexible. So that you don't lose your core, because your core is what you need to be able to flex when things go up and things go down. That's enough of that. And that's just terrible. I can't bear this now, so you have to keep going. So the thing about a social business is it's an ethical business. And there's a couple of things around language. The word profit is not a bad word. It's what we do with the profit that matters. Now I can't abide the not-for-profit talk because it confuses people. You have to make a profit because otherwise you won't meet your mission. I can't build more nurseries if I don't make a profit. And I certainly can't repay my loan if I can't make a profit. So again, it's the language, and a lot of people particularly in the charitable sector, particularly at the beginning of our journey, were very uncomfortable when I talked about the notion of profit. They thought we were just getting into bed with the devil, and that we would forget our purpose. But actually, when you present it as an ethical business, when you present it as a business with values, and when you spend a bit of time on your brand and on what your values are about and how that's going to, in a sense, enhance your mission rather than detract from your mission, that actually is a very worthwhile conversation to have. So something we spent quite a long time doing, so that you brought people with you. Because you need to keep your staff with you, and you need to keep as much sort of balance, I think, as you can. I daren't even know what that was actually. It's a slide. No, it's grand. It's grand. I'm scared when there's a quote because it's gone mad. It's okay. You can go to the next one. So in effect, we decided that our business model would be looking at high contribution, medium contribution, and low contribution nurseries. So basically, in effect, we'd be Robin Hood. So we would put nurseries in areas where parents could pay, so we could subsidise nurseries in areas where parents couldn't pay. And that core in the middle would be nurseries where in the lovely city of London you have gentrification and poverty side by side, so you can switch. And the intention is that most of them are community nurseries for two reasons. One, because people can pay in that way that I can balance it, and two, all children deserve to go to community nurseries, so they're not actually in one where it's all poor or one where it's all rich, but actually there's a whole community in mesh. Really, that goes on and that kind of enriches the whole experience. So this was our model, and this is what we're trying to do, and this is also our growth strategy to some degree. So we have decided that by 2018 we will have 50 nurseries. That means we'd be turning over between about 25 and 30 million pounds, and we'd be employing just under 1,000 staff, and then we'd have 5,000 children a day. And that's my intention. After that, I don't know, I'll look for another job. But in the meantime, that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're working to. So to do that, in a planned way, we needed money. And I think the term now is unsecured loan, okay? So I think you'll find a lot of you are on unsecured loans. So if you're going to go off and do your bonds, well, good for you, but you'll probably have quite a lot of reserves to be able to start you off in the first instance. So I'm talking about a business where there's very little reserves, where there's no opportunity to really get access to the banks as easily as it seems, and where you need someone who's going to trust you. The thing that's missing in all of this is you need someone to help you in there. Now, we were lucky, and we found, after all the talk and the standing around and the, all the networking and all the endless glasses of wine we had to drink, it was such pain. We found SBT, which is Social Business Trust, and that's run by, chaired by Damon Buffini from Primera Venture Capital, and it's a group of 6 big businesses. And their line was to help you to think about growth as if you were paying a consultant. So they gave me Bain Management. I have to own, I had never heard of Bain Management, but now I know everything about Bain Management and their talk and their language. But they gave it to me to help me to think through whether my plan, and Neil, my FD, was good enough. And that was really helpful because they were external. They talked a language I'd never heard before, because it wasn't just management speak, it was American management speak. And they really kind of tested with us. And that's often the thing. So when you're building your business plan, you spend your weekends doing it, you're at night doing it, and you never have time to do real research into, say, your competitors or the demography, because you don't have the money to put into the infrastructure that you need to do it at the business. So your CEO is basically knackered the whole time, because you're trying to run it in the day, and you're trying to build it in the night as well. So if you can get somebody to support you like that, or a government fund to support you like that, or even big society capital to support you like that, that's a really, really good start. Then when you get to that point, and you start to ask the questions, so you're in the board now, and you're asking the questions, you really need to understand some key things. So you need to know how the business is doing. So the challenge often, I think, for boards and CEOs is the papers. How many of us have had the debate about the papers? Too many, too few, not often enough, too much, didn't get them on time, they didn't come by email, I wanted a different copy of them. I have had more conversations about papers in my role as CEO than I probably had about more detailed stuff. And so I guess what you have to start seriously thinking about is, what do you need to know as trustees? And what do we need to tell you as CEOs that actually is meaningful for what you want to do? And these are the kind of key things that we've come to after much debate, discussion and analysis. So you need to know how the business is doing. And I'm a great dashboard girl, I love a dashboard. You need to know what the key indicators of success are. So what is it? So in childcare, occupancy is a big key indicator. Debt is a big indicator. The cost of staff to child is a big key indicator. Now, they're my indicators. You need to know what your indicators are, and that they're smart indicators, and they're not kind of qualitative so much, they're quantitative. We worry about quality in social media. You need to be able to read the cash flow, the balance. We've just seen, the kids' company with all its problems, financial problems. It's not unusual, I think, sometimes for people not to be able to read the cash balance and to have management accounts and to be on this, I'm slightly obsessive, about, at any point of the day or night, you can ask the key questions and you can get an answer. So what is our occupancy right now? What is our occupancy in Abbott Spanner Nursery right now? What are the targets for the occupancy in Holcroft Nursery right now? You need to be able to do that kind of thing. So you need to set up a system that gives you some really good business information. You need to check if your business strategy is working. Pipelines are pipelines. They're not completed deals. And sometimes your business development people think a pipeline is a great thing. But it's not a great thing, because pipelines fall off, as you know, and they get very dry very quickly. So the question is, when you're looking at your pipeline and you're looking at whatever it is you're doing in terms of your growth, is it working for you? Is it serious? Is it proper, or is it conversations? And anyone here from housing associations, I would be entirely grateful if you could speed up your property departments to sign leases, because it would make our lives so much easier. So there are things where you've got a great deal with the CEO, you've had lunch, you've worked it out, you've got a plan, and you start to put it into practice. So you go to the property department to get a lease sorted so you can open the nursery, all right? Children's departments are delighted, everyone's delighted, and the lease departments are saying, I'm on holiday, I've got to go to the lawyers, I'm sorry, I'm really busy, I can't do it, I'll talk to you in 3 weeks' time. And you can't really carry those kind of things, you know? Or it's not my job, it's somebody else's job, or you know, it's all of that kind of stuff. So if you're chairs and you have power, deal with some of that sort of stuff, and if you are, when you're having your lunch with the CEO and you're doing the deal, maybe have the property person there, or the person that's most important in the room with you, and get them to buy in as well, because it seems to me, for me, property tends to be the delay factor. The state of the brand, you're the CEO, you're the chair, you have to understand how this is coming across to your public, to your customers, to what they're perceiving it. Are they worried that you're becoming a big capitalist? And also the state of the service. I was speaking to somebody yesterday and they asked me, why did I know so much about the policy? Why am I interested in politics? And I said to them, because in an instant your business can go out, you can be wrecked by a policy decision that actually affects you. And we've seen that in childcare. And politicians, when they're bored, start to dabble, and when they dabble, they're dangerous. And they do a lot of dangerous dabbling, it seems. And then the next one comes in, and then they undabble the danger. And then they come in with something else. In the meantime, you can't recruit, or there's a major barrier to your problem, or whatever it is that's caused you, and you're trying to fix that. And we see that in education and childcare all the time. And then progress and collaboration. The most successful businesses collaborate, and the most successful social businesses collaborate. And there's a very good report came out yesterday from Social Enterprise UK, which is the state of the nation really in terms of social enterprises, and it's very fascinating what they say about collaboration and how it's added success. So find a good partner is quite a lot of the time, and if it's a financial partner, that's all the better. And then, oh well, we've decided that is relevant information and stuff, so okay, next one. I mean, board meetings are generally, I hope, in all your experiences, rather interesting, with a little bit of challenge, I think is how it's often described. And sometimes they're very long. Our finance committee meeting the other day was 5 hours long. 5 hours, can you imagine? And, but you do have to be able to dare to disagree. But in a nice, obviously nice, pleasant way. But, you know, come with your questions, come with your, don't just read the papers on the boss, guys. You know, take them seriously and come and then ask some serious questions about what you're interested in and what's happening. Because it's often the detail that's most important. And Jim talked about social impact. Just a few words of warning on social impact. Social impact is kind of the kind of buzzword, and it terrifies people. And people have tried to do, again, because we started at the time when nobody was thinking about social impact. Again, you had to read everything that was written about social impact, and a lot of the stuff is America, and I know Europeans are looking at it now to the get-us and stuff. So it's all very interesting. But social impact is only going to work for your business and your organisation. They've tried to do sort of formulas, they confuse social return on investment with social impact. And so really, your social impact is about what matters to you. You decide. There's some lovely key things like, you know, disaggregation and what's going to affect it other than your business. But you need to decide what your social impact is. So a good committee to have is a social impact committee, and have your finance person attend that. Social impact is it's a very scary concept. So we've started to make it very simple. And one of the things, of course, that, you know, social impact is why you need to be very comfortable, is that the conversation is going to be very useful when you're actually going to get some money. Because they'll ask, what is the impact? They want to give you the impact. The downside, of course, is that your first investment, I call it investment, is actually a very expensive loan. So be prepared for that, and be prepared to do a good deal, because it's not cheap. And it's important that you're aware of that so that you can repay it. We were shocked at the cost of the first loan, I have to say. The second loan is cheaper because you started to deliver, and they start to trust you. So the more smart you are, the more ready you are, the more well-versed you are in what you want, the more likely you are to do a good deal when you negotiate. And I have to say, the two people we've got money from are worth talking to. They're interested. So that's a big issue, Invest and Bridges, and they've been really, really helpful. The likelihood you will take one of them on your board as well. So they have to have a declaration of conflict of interest, but it is a very helpful thing to have somebody on your board from one of your key investors. And finally, so if you're going to do social impact, create a relevant social impact dashboard. Because, you know, if you're turning a charity into a business, and you're running a business, and you have a growth strategy, you haven't really got time for complex information. And I think both of these guys also said simplicity is the thing. So for us, the things that matter to us are what are these kind of things. So for us, it's about numbers of children, leavers, and good and excellent offset ratings, those kind of things, because they align to what we think makes a difference, which is all based on the research of our sector. So for that, you must think about it. So don't be frightened by social impact. Think about it as a relevant to you. And ask the question that I learned from Bain. Does it add value to your business? So everything you do, every board meeting you have, every paper you ask for, every information you want, ask the question, is it adding value to your business? Because you can so easily go down too many meandering routes and you haven't time for it. So just don't keep asking questions, think about the process, get involved, and I think my last slide is just my details. Yeah, and if you want any questions, my board and I are very happy to answer any questions for you and to offer our experience. But if you are going to do it well, and it makes a significant difference because we need more social enterprises in the sector. So thank you.